Hey, Natural Born Sistahs. Welcome to another episode of Kinky in the Kitchen, where every swirl, curl, coil, and wave is celebrated. You'll hear inspiring stories from women who have left straight hair, wigs, and weaves behind, despite the discrimination and bias, to reclaim their power by rocking their natural hair. Be it spiraled, kinky, defined, or straight. Whether you're already a natural sister or still finding the courage to unleash your beautiful coils, you're not alone, and you're in the right place. Let's get to know your host. She's passionate about inspiring Black women to rock their natural hair with confidence, teaching our Black natural hair-wearing women how to show up despite hair discrimination and biases. She's natural like you and rocks her kinks in the kitchen loud and proud. She's Lisa E., a.k.a. Natural Born Sistah.
What's up, Natural Born Sisters? It's your girl, Lisa E., a.k.a. Natural Born Sistah, a.k.a. Living My Best Life. Welcome to the Kinky in the Kitchen podcast, the show that highlights Black women who are rocking their natural hair with confidence despite discrimination and bias. So we are on week 4 of this series. And the reason why it's week 4, just a reminder, reason why it's week 4 and 3 different women, actually 4, it's because we had to split one of the professionals. So that's why. So we are on week 4, episode 3 of this series that I am feeling so much, and we are still rocking it out with the professional edition. And this episode is so unique from any other episode on this entire podcast. I mean, even outside of the professional edition. So not only do we have 2 women on the show today, but these 2 women, they sisters. They sisters, yo. Oh, they sisters, sis. And also, guess what? They are identical twins. So if you're listening, go check out the YouTube version to see the actual video and you'll see exactly what I mean. So in this episode, we're talking about Black women in the industry and business of natural hair. Remember, sis, and tell me, I don't know, because maybe this only applied to me, but it was hard when the whole natural hair phenomenon became very popular. I'm going to speak for myself. It was hard for me to find hair salons that did natural hair. And actually, depending on which part of the country you're from. So for me being from the north, east north, that was an issue. And it made it so difficult for me to go natural because I had no one to go to. So it made it hard to embrace my own natural hair. Well, after talking to these beautiful sisters, they will tell us why. And they're going to debunk those myths about Black natural hair, certain processes in their education. Y'all, I had fun talking to these ladies, and I learned so much from their stories of being foster children, living with their grandparents and what that was like, and having a mother who was on drugs, which led them to the start of both of their successes. And if you're listening and you love hair as much as they do, even I do, and you were in foster care or you were foster child, whatever the reason, whether it was due to drugs, death, or neglect, their story will strengthen you. It will give you hope to say, I can do that too. And if your hair is your weakness, allow their story to be your strength. So, without further ado, I bring you Natural Born Sisters, Tesha MacDonald and Taneka Gillard, also known as Twinness. Hey, Teach. Hey, Niqi. How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
I'm good. Look at the beautiful smile popped up when we came on. Thank you for coming on Kinky in the Kitchen podcast. I just want to give you a big welcome. I wish I could give you guys a big hug because I'm so excited that you guys are here.
Thank you, Lisa.
We're going to have a good conversation, I feel, because Tesha, you know, I know you are ready and we do be having our conversations. So
yes, ma'am.
I know it's going to be good. So let's start by introducing you guys. Tesha, why don't you start?
My name is Tesha MacDonald, Alternatives Beauty Studio, and I am one half of the Twiness. I live in the Poconos. Well, I live in Delaware, but my salon is in the Poconos. I've been practicing natural hair care for over 30 years now. I don't look it, but it's over 30 years now.
You don't.
And that's me.
I am the baby twin by 4 minutes. I never let that slide. My name is Taneka Gillard, but I prefer to be called Niqi. N-I-Q for Queen. Niqi, and I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. Of course, my sister and I were born together in Harlem, New York. So that's where we're originally from. And we just migrated our separate ways from there. And I've been doing hair for maybe as long as Tesha, but I'm not as ingrained as Tesha is with the hair. I only do natural hair, and Tesha does all types of hair.
Yeah, Tesha does it all. Yeah. So when you say you do natural hair, that means you don't do locks, extensions, or things. It's just the natural hair.
No, I do locks. Locks are considered natural. I do braids. I'm a braid specialist here in Birmingham. You see my, but I do braids, I do locks, I do natural hair. I don't do weaves, which is still considered natural, but that's just not something I invest my time in. I don't do relaxers. I don't do chemicals. I don't do any of that side, which Tesha does. But everything I learned from Tesha, my big sister. So
big sister. Now you said weaves is not. You said weaves is natural too.
They consider weaves natural because you're not manipulating your natural hair underneath the wig. It's just the weave, rather. It's just braided down. Your hair is braided down and you just sewing on top of it. So it's considered natural.
Unless you're getting a leave out and you put a relaxer on that leave out, then it's no longer.
That's the exception. Natural. Okay, right. I got you. Okay, because I never heard that before. Okay, that's a new one. Let me write that one down. That's good. Okay, so great. I want to start with you, Niqi. I know you just spoke, but I do want to start with you. I want to hear how your natural hair journey started. What was it for you to eat? I don't know how long you've been natural, but what was it for you to make you go natural if you weren't natural from childhood?
Did you say Tesha or Taneka?
Niqi.
Okay, Niqi. Okay, I didn't hear the first part.
That's okay.
We had relaxers, we've had jerry curls, but when I went off to college, I had the jerry curl, but I would just like to keep it straight. And then when I went to college, we was already braiding since we were 8 or 9 years old, and I would perm it and then braid on top of it. And I said, that doesn't make any sense. And so from that point, I just stopped relaxing my hair and just went braiding. So I've been natural, we almost 50. So I've been natural almost half of those years. So maybe 25 years, maybe a little bit more than that. And I've enjoyed the journey. So I didn't lock until recently, but they say that that's a natural progression. When you go natural, you end up locking your hair eventually. But I've cut my locks off before. And so this is my second set of locks. And I only do, again, natural hair, braids and locks. But for me, relaxing it made my hair very thin. My hair is thin already, but it made it paper thin. And I just couldn't see getting the burns on your scalp and things like that. I just wasn't for all of that. So, and then even when I moved to the South, Alabama, again, that's what they would do. They would say, oh, I need to put a fresh perm on my hair before I get it braided. And I'm like, no, the kink is what I need to hold the braid. I like that kinky root. And so it was a lot of educating when I moved to Alabama from New York.
Now, you said you cut off your locks before. What do you mean? You chopped it all off, or you just chopped it
all off?
Oh, wow.
Most people know that I have a daughter with special needs. Okay. And so we were going to start our lock journey together. I had my locks maybe 7 years at the time. And so I said, okay, Rain, I'm going to chop mine off and we're going to start together. So we did. And now my new set of locks are 7 years old. But my daughter, I combed her locks out because she's in a wheelchair. She's special needs. I couldn't maintain them the way I needed to. And so it was just easier for me just to deal with her loose hair rather than her locked hair.
I see. Okay. Wow.
It was a mommy-daughter thing.
That's nice, though. Did you just come up with that idea that you wanted to do it with her? Or
yeah, absolutely. Okay. So we could do it together.
Nice. I like that. That's very nice. Well, Tesha, I want to hear about your hair journey and how you started.
Like Niqi said, we're twins, so we both had the jerry curl, we both had a relaxer. But Taneka, when you think about it, when we lived in Long Island, my grandmother would always have us braid each other's hair because she wasn't a braider. So we would braid each other's hair to go to school for the week. That's the way she made us do it. And then on Saturday nights, we would sit and get our hair pressed with the pressing comb. But it was 3 girls in the house and the pressing comb was loose. So we'd be spinning in our head to, it was loose. So we had to pick who was going to be first, second, or third. We had to rotate that because whoever was the last one was going to get burnt the most with that pressing.
So wait, y'all had to braid each other's hair. Who taught who? Or how did you know how to braid?
Okay, so we had a hard life growing up. So we'll take it back a step.
Okay.
My mom was a crackhead, and we were in foster care. Okay. Braiding was always my outlet. So I learned how to braid actually in New York City in the projects. And I don't know, I'm self-taught. Nobody taught us, my mom couldn't teach us. So I was self-taught, and I'm practicing on a doll, and my sister wanted to know how to braid. And so I'm like, all right, you do it like this. And that's how we learned. I was self-taught. I didn't know. I just saw my mom. Before she became a drug addict, I used to love to see her braid. She would go to the African braid shops, and I loved that. And I wanted to learn how to do it, but there was no one to show me. And so that's how I learned how to braid. And then when we were in care, that was like my outlet, to be creative. And I would use my sister as my guinea pig, of course, because who better to use? I mean, really. So then she would also braid my hair. That's how we learned how to part straight. And no, I feel it. It's crooked. It's crooked. You got to do that over again. I feel it. It's slanted upward. So it took a lot of practice and stuff like that. But we were young. We were like 9 years old when we entered care, I think. And yeah. So that's how we learned. And then my grandmother is my foster mom, but we call her Ma. She took us in. And so Taneka and I already knew how to braid. So she used that to her advantage, braid each other's hair for the week, and then Saturday night we would sit there and get our hair pressed out. Then the Jerry curl came along, and then we had relaxers. And then I don't know what made me go natural. Let me see. I used to work for this lady, very prominent in the natural hair industry, Diane Bailey. You might know her because she writes the natural course for the schools right now. My lady. And all the cosmetology schools use her information. I worked under her. And that was the first natural hair place that I ever knew about. That's the only natural hair place that I ever worked for. Diane Bailey, she's very big in the industry, and she's how I learned how to get into magazines and everything. She was my mentor, actually. She was my mentor, and I was in Brooklyn, New York. She had a salon called Tendrils, and when you walked in, you knew it was like a holistic place with the candles and the colors and the ambiance. She did not play around. I learned how to do kinky twists from her and locks.
And wait, what age was that? What age was that? I was in my 20s then. I was like 21 or 22. And was it at that point that you knew you wanted to be a cosmetologist? Or what point was it?
No, I was always a braider. Since 9 years old. Braids I knew. The only thing I learned from her, I even knew the kinky twist. The only thing I learned from her was how to lock. I didn't know how to lock. Wasn't really interested in locks, But then working there, it was a lot of kinky twist, and that's what I just finished doing. I got all these blisters on my finger. But anyway, locks, that was what she was known for. That was what her salon was known for, Brooklyn, New York, Tendrils on Vanderbilt Avenue. Mm-hmm.
On Vanderbilt, really?
Mm-hmm. Weird. My husband was I don't remember.
Okay.
My husband was my guinea pig for the locks.
Well, at least he was willing to do it, right?
Oh, yeah, he kept those for 7 years. And when he decided to cut his, I put one on the back of mine. And then I just, he told me to burn them, but I didn't. And then our house caught on fire. So look at how ironic that is.
That is so ironic, girl. The way you put it to the house went on fire.
The house went on fire. But I started my locks when I was pregnant with my daughter. And everybody thinks, she must be a naturalista. She must not eat beef. She must not eat pork and all. No, it had nothing to do with that. I was pregnant. I was on bed rest. And I said, locks are nothing but a permanent braid. And so that's what made me decide to lock my hair, because my mom used to always say, all right, so let me take it back again. Taneka and I are twins. And so we were always compared. So I was the pretty but dumb twin. And my sister was the ugly but smart twin. But she always would say, you need to go into hair. You need to go into hair. You're so talented. My grandmother used to always say, you're so talented, you need to do hair. How did you do that? You put all these little braids on yourself, because I was braiding my own hair, doing box braids and invisible braids and everything on myself. And she was like, I don't know how you sit there all those hours putting those tiny braids in. And I would do it to my sister. And she kept saying, you need to go to beauty school. So she was really my encourager to go to beauty school. Rest in peace. But my grandfather was more, you got to go to college, you got to go to college. We were the first to graduate high school. So they just said, you have to go to college. And that's so I started when I was pregnant with my daughter, and my daughter is now 16. And now she decided to start her locks, and I'm ready to cut mine off.
Really?
Yes.
What?
I said 2 more years. Because this is the thing, Lisa. People think because you have locks that you don't get alopecia. But I'm going to be very transparent. I'm starting to get alopecia.
Yeah, I remember you showing me that. But the way you style your hair, Tish, it's like you can't really tell.
I know. I'm good at the hiding.
Yeah. You know what you're doing. Speaking of alopecia, how about you, Niqi? Do you suffer with alopecia?
No, not yet. And
okay,
then
don't say yes.
Don't say yes. No, I'm not. I don't suffer with alopecia. Thank you. My locks are smaller than Tisha's, and I haven't had mine as many years as Tisha has had hers.
Okay, I see.
And last year, my locks were very long. My sister did my hair when she came to visit, and I chopped them off. I had them right here, but now they're growing back again, and I'm like, it's still too long. With all that I have to do, I'm not really one for really long hair, but.
So Tisha, you the one for long hair. You like long hair.
I cut mine twice.
Oh, you did?
They were down to my butt. And then I came home, I want to say 4 summers ago, like this.
Oh, okay.
And my husband was not happy because I kept saying, I'm going to let them grow till they sweep the floor. They're going to sweep the floor. But then once your locks start going into the toilet, literally, my husband is laying on my locks, sleeping on them. I'm like, get off, you're on my hair. We went to New Orleans last March. I'm giving him my pocketbook. He grabbed my hair with the pocketbook. I said, see, this is why I cut them. This is exactly why I cut them. We're painting the house. I dipped them into the paint. I'm telling you, it was something else. So yeah,
slammed them in the drawer. You told me that.
Slammed them in the drawer, and then you pull back and you realize you got a lock in the drawer.
Wow.
I think she's just a klutz. But for me, I would just wear my hair in a bun. So. And I was like, okay, that's enough for this. If I'm just wearing it in a bun, I might as well just cut it off. And of course, I got a lot of kickback from cutting it. Your hair was so beautiful. That's the goal. I'm like, that's your goal. That's not my goal.
You know what that is, right? That's that stereotypical thinking where you have to have long hair. I don't understand what it is about why my hair has to be long. And why are we stretching our hair all the time? What is that? I mean, as far as wearing styles, and I've talked to you about this, Tisha, like as far as certain times I might want to wear my hair in a stretch style, but that's only to achieve a certain style. Not because I'm trying to see how long my hair is. I'm tired of seeing all these videos with people like just stretching their hair all the way down to here and I'm like, what is that? What are you doing? Yes. Shrinkage is beautiful. I don't mind shrinkage. You know what I'm saying? That's our hair and that's what it does. So for you to keep tugging and pulling on it, it's not going to change anything.
Well, the new thing for me, that's the kicker, is the relaxer on the edges of your locks. Like you relax the edges so that they could be straight and smooth. That is the kicker for me.
That doesn't make no sense to me.
It does to them. Flat iron in the locks is the kicker for me. Who flat irons their locks? Why?
I've never heard of that one before.
It's popular down here.
But what is it? So once you flat iron your locks, what does it do?
Makes it straighter, but it's only temporary because once the heat gets to it, it's going to shrink back up. So, because it's natural hair.
So what I'm going to say is, why even bother to get locks? Why are you straightening your fucking locks? Why would you do that? First of all, that's a waste of time. Second of all, that's not even the nature of the hairstyle. Exactly. So why sit and get it done all that time and then go ahead and that doesn't make sense. Okay.
Well, let me tell you, Lisa, I'm glad that I have my locks because, back in the day, people didn't think that you could do anything with your locks. Oh, you wear your locks and you just wear them flat. No, people have seen me curl my locks. People have seen me braid my locks. People have seen me put extensions over my locks. And it's so much that you could do with your locks because it's just your natural hair. So whatever a person who doesn't have locks can do, I can do as well. The only thing I can't do is an afro. But if you could wear a curl, so can I. If you could wear a braid, so can I. So I love my locks. I love it.
Speaking of afros, would you wear afro if you could?
I have. That's one of my signature styles.
You have, Niqi?
Absolutely.
I would love to see that picture.
Oh, yes. I've worn afros, but when I moved to Alabama, I had an afro. I'm a nurse. And so I went for an interview and I had my afro. And the person interviewing me was like, well, where do you see yourself, in 5 years, whatever, owning my own natural shop? That's me. But they never knew how it was coming in. Sometimes it would be a big fro with crochet, or sometimes it would be just my natural hair in a fro. But they never knew what to expect when I came to work. And I still love big hair. I still love a fro. I'm all for it. I know we went on vacation one year and I had a fro, and my niece, my sister's daughter, wanted her hair to look just like mine. And so Tesha put her hair in a fro, but my mother was not happy about that because she was not one for natural hair at all. She felt like, and I understand the generation that you needed to have it relaxed or, and then she said, well, in her day, when they wore fros, it was neat. And today they just wear their hair any old kind of way. Like they just don't comb it. It's unkept. And I understand what she's saying too, because our young people like that freedom or that wild look. And I get what she's saying, but yeah, I love a fro.
Okay, good. I like fros. I wish I can get a nice big fro.
Taneka, one of our very first photo shoots was you in a fro.
Yes, it was. Cornrows with a fro in the back. And my daughter, she wears her big hair. Every now and again, my daughter has a ton of hair and it's a lot, but she does wear her fro every now and again. It's just a lot to keep up with.
Yeah. I don't even know how to style a fro. Maybe we try that one day, Tesha. I don't know. I just want to play it.
Maybe I'll split it on the side, have a little clip right there. That'd be cute.
Oh, okay. Because my line of thinking is just like poof. None of that.
No, you got to do stuff with the fro. Come on now. Okay. Come on.
Taneka,
I know.
She has a funky style if you can't tell.
Yeah. So it's just a braid. Just do this braid in my hair. Because, girl, I don't know what to do with my hair sometimes. And it's like, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and put the braid in. I don't care if it's like me. I love fancy styles. And I follow this guy on Facebook. And I think the name of his channel is called Krew Kutz. And I don't know if you've ever seen it, but the transformations that he does on this, oh my God, it's amazing. And the women that he gets in there, he gets their makeup done, their hair done. And when he reveals them, because they don't get to see themselves the whole time he's doing everything, even the makeup. And when they look in the mirror, they're like, some of them be crying, and he'd be so excited, like he's jumping up and down.
Concept. That was a TV show, something like that.
Really?
Like
What Not to Wear.
What Not to Wear.
Mm-hmm.
Was it for natural hair or just something?
No,
it was just a fashion show, but they would do the same makeover, and they couldn't see themselves. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just can't imagine seeing something sometime. I'm like, can I see how you? That's just me. But if you tell me, trust me, and I'm going to do your hair the way you say you want it done, then I could just sit in a chair like that. I do it with you, Tesha. I don't just be like...
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. That's true.
Depends on the person. You know what I'm saying?
So do you put anything in your hair? Do you wear extensions or anything?
I used to be extension queen. Like I used to always do a lot of braids. I, like you guys, perms, jerry curls back in the past. But I started getting into this wig thing. Like wig was my biggest go-to for years in the past. And but now I'm afraid to get any braids in I just feel like my hair, and tell me if I'm wrong, Tesha, I just feel like my hair is very delicate. Like it's like I feel like you're right? It's very delicate. If I put braids in my hair, especially synthetic hair or any type of hair that's not real, I feel like it's gonna break out. So I'm very cautious with my hair. So as far as putting extensions in it, I really got to spend the money to get the good hair. So my pockets ain't ready for that right now. So
I'm glad that you mentioned that. And I'm glad that you're aware that because your hair is not brittle, but you're aware that you cannot wear these heavy extensions. A lot of women are not aware of that. And they're thinning and thinning and thinning. They're balding. They're alopecia-ing. I know that's not a word.
I know.
And they still want more hair. And it's like, come on now, you got like one string. Where do you want me to put this hair? But they're so addicted to having all this hair. And society makes it as if you have to have all this hair. And they're feeding into that. Or I get this a lot. My husband. And I'm just like, it ain't your husband that's losing his hair. It's you. Stop putting this stuff on your hair. It's like, and stop pushing it off on your husband when it's really you. It's you who has a problem. My husband could care less that I was going natural. He actually loved the fact that I was going natural. And you know how alternatives became alternatives? I wanted to be an A, but I said alternatives is because you could get your hair done naturally. And at that time I was doing relaxers. So I was like, you could come and get your relaxers, you could get your locks, you could get, your braids, your twists. I said, the choice is yours. He said, no, the natural is the original. The alternative is everything else. So I was like, that's a good way to think about that. And so from then on, I'm like, alternatives is natural and everything else is, everything else.
2 points that I gotta disagree with you on, T.
All right.
One, you said the women like to blame it on their husband and all of that other jazzy stuff, but you cut your hair off twice. Yes, your husband didn't like it, so his opinion did count. You know what I mean?
I did not cut it. God, I'm sorry.
No, but they have an opinion on what they want you to look like as their wife. And he didn't want your hair cut, And then the second thing was with the new generation, I'm loving them. When I'm looking in my Instagram feed and I see young people with alopecia, sometimes you just got circumstances. And I see these wonderful cornrow styles that these girls come up with, like this new generation, how they feed in the hair and do the cornrows, and you would never know that the person had alopecia to begin with. So go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I'm saying that we can be creative because we're artists. That's what we're supposed to do to help alleviate the stress from our clients and the anxiety and the way they look. It's our job to make them feel better. I'm not saying, because I know we started with Lisa with her soft textured hair, that might be too fine. But there are methods that can be done to alleviate the pressure of the braids on the hair. That's all I'm trying to say.
I agree with that. But me cutting my hair, it still was my decision to cut my hair. My husband couldn't say, oh, don't cut your hair. And so I'm going to let it sweep the floor. When I felt like I needed to cut my hair, I cut my hair. Like he couldn't say, no, don't cut your hair. So that's one, And of course, Taneka, I do non-surgical hair replacement. So yes, there are methods to alleviate, because I am able to take your insurance. If you have Aetna, I'll take your insurance and you will pay me through Aetna to get a wig made, or you'll get a lace front piece made right here, because most times people lose their hair right here. And that's just a piece that's made for, tailor-made for you. So yes, and of course, Taneka, of course we do the, like I'm the camouflage queen. So of course I know how to put the extension in to cover up your balding or your thinning spots. That's what I do. One, I'm a cosmetology teacher, but also I've learned the methods because I've taken the classes to know how to do these cover-ups. Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Lisa, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. No, you're doing good. Well, so I have a question because I think it's what Niqi said, that you can do things to kind of make you, so say like they want the braids, right? And they come in with no edges, but they're constantly getting the braids because the styles they wear with the edges, because the braids is constantly pulling their hair. Now, would you offer that lace in front? Would you offer that, or is that something that they would have to ask for, or how does that work?
I personally don't do that. And I have to backtrack because I lied. I do have alopecia. And that's because when you just mentioned the sides, I just thought about it. So I did that to myself, braiding my own hair. I was young, and I will always wear my hair with that part down the middle going, and I will pull and I will wear my hair up tight, and so that I let my clients know. So that's one reason how I keep my clients is because I'm very transparent about that. And I'm very protective of their edges because of what I've done to my own edges. And so I had to backtrack that because yes, I have traction alopecia and I did it to myself. No, I don't do any type of wigs. I don't do lace fronts. I don't like, my limit is braids, locks, natural hair. Tesha does that extra.
Okay. Gotcha. Well, okay, yeah. So yeah, the edges, my edges used to be snatched. I still feel like I can have some, but it looks a lot better than it did some time ago. And I think that's because I relieved my hair. And I don't know if you guys know, but you know how when wigs became popular, the glue, with the glue, the tapes. Okay. I was one of those who refused to glue tape, whatever it was, to my hair. I would put on a lace wig. I would put the lace maybe up to here just so it kind of could look natural. And I would use what was the name of that gel? Ugh. I think it was the Gorilla Glue.
Okay.
I would put it right here. I would never let it touch my hair. And then there was days I would go out and I wouldn't put none of that shit on my hair. I would just put the lace down and I would just cut it as much as I can to kind of camouflage it and make it kind of tight around here. I refuse to do it because I've seen what it does to people. It snatches their edges really bad.
Let's talk about it. So it was 2 points, but I'm going to make this one clear. That method, the lace fronts, were for people with cancer. That's how this all started. These lace front wigs were for people with cancer, lupus, autoimmune diseases. That's what these lace fronts were for. But of course, once I can't say the name, but once the stars started wearing them, then it became, everybody wanted to wear them. And this is why you have these young people wearing these lace fronts. It wasn't meant for people who had edges because these glues are specific to last you for months. It can last you for 4 weeks up to 2 months. These specific glues, but these are medical grade glues that are used for the lace fronts, not these Gorilla Glues that they have out, the Got2Bs and all. No, you're supposed to use a medical grade glue, especially when you're doing your edges and stuff like that. So everybody's using their own thing to have these, and it's taking out their edges because they're putting it on their edges. And it's really for people that have cancer who has no hair follicles there. They have no hair. And that's what those wigs were made for, not for healthy people with hair. And now you're starting to see all of these girls losing their edges because they thought they were doing it correctly and they weren't, because this wasn't meant for them. It really wasn't.
I was wondering.
I want one too.
First, I thought whoever came up with the idea is genius. You can lose the hairline and you don't see the wig. But after a while, I was that's messed up.
Wig making has been something for years. We're just finding out about it. We are just finding out about it. But it's been around for years, because what do you think they do for TV? They sit there and make those headpieces. But we are just getting into it because there's always been a hair club for men, hair club for women, locks of love. But who's getting that hair? Yeah. But somebody's making it for them, and we're just starting to find out about it.
What's popular now are the braided wigs. They do the braided lace front wigs, and those are nice too. You pay a penny for those braided wigs, but they're nice. Some of them.
Nice. Yeah. I've seen a video with this one lady. She had it. She was holding it in her hand. I didn't know what the hell it was. I was like, "What's she doing?" And she did like this and put it on. It just plopped right on her head. And she said, "Shit, you can do it."
And now they're making it where you don't, like what you were saying, Lisa, where you don't have to use the glue. They're glueless wigs.
Yep. I think I had one.
Okay.
And it blended in pretty good, but after a while, garbage. But yeah. Those laces that they made. I remember when the lace first came out, y'all. It was so hard and so uncomfortable.
Yes.
I think I had cut the whole thing off. I said, I can't wear this. I'm like, and it was horrible. Then they came out with the better lace. It was more softer, but then it was hard to keep it laid down. So then when they came out with the wigs with the soft lace and the fact that you can adjust it and that it looks like it's melting down on you, I said, okay, that's the one. So
okay.
It takes time, it takes time, the transitions, because even the braiding hair was hard back in the day, and you had to try to soften it up. And now, with the different types of hair, I don't even go into the beauty supply store anymore. I tell my clients bring their own hair because it's just overwhelming how much things have changed with the hair and how much is available for us now,
Yeah, it really is.
It was full of plastic, Taneka, cutting everybody's hair. Yes. And that was the other thing. Like, you don't know what these, what's in the hair, the braiding hair. And so it's full of chemicals. And then you just don't know what materials are being used. And they were really full of plastic. So there you go with the alopecia, the breakage, everything else like that, because it's not even near a human hair. You could buy packs of hair at 50 cents a pack, and let me tell you something. When you go to the salons and they say, yeah, we supply the hair, I'm kind of squeamish about that, because are you giving me the cheapest hair on the market? Like, you're not going to spend the best money to give me that hair for free. You must be giving me the cheapest hair that you got for free. You know what I'm saying?
But most people not going to care if you gave them the cheapest hair, as long as their hair looks good when they leave out of the salon.
Or they're walking around itching and burning. Oh, this itch is so bad. And they think it's because it's just a new, fresh braid, but it's actually the hair that's aggravating their scalp.
I get it. I'm already there because we already know to pre-treat the hair. I have had clients ask me to pre-treat their hair before putting it in, installing their braids. But also, even with the human hair, I would tell my clients, that human hair that you're paying $25, $30, $40 a pack, if you read the back of the label, it says made with synthetic fibers. So you're not getting human hair. You're paying that extra, and it's
human
still
hair blend.
Yeah, human hair. Mm-hmm. I'm like, no.
Definitely. Wow. I wanted to ask Niqi something. She had said something that was very important that I want to touch on. Hopefully I can remember it again and just come back. So as far as you guys' hair journey, you took me through when you were in foster care. You took me to how you got to be in the professional realm because your grandmother, she kind of not forced you, but she told you to go ahead and do that. But your grandfather wanted you guys to go to college. Now, how did you guys feel when it's almost like he flipped the script on grandma now. It's like, okay, now I don't want them to do that. How do you guys feel about your grandfather saying that he'd rather you go to college than do hair? Like, maybe doing hair was not a good thing.
I always feel like Tesha and I, we're different. Our families used to try to pit us against each other, but we always was in each other's corner. I am the college girl. So Tesha is the creative. She took the creative route, and I am a scholastic person, even to this day. I'm always listening to books. I'm always reading something. I'm always learning. I have 3 college degrees. I would not force that on my children. I feel like they need to make their own decision, but they need to have something, to go off of. And I understood what my grandfather was saying at his time. Back then, college was important. A lot of us didn't make it to college, couldn't get into college. And I understood. He would say, in the future, you're going to need a college degree to push a broom. And that's pretty much where we are today. You can't really get a decent job. But even with degrees, sometimes, if you don't have a degree in the right field, nursing is always going to be around. And I have a bachelor's degree, but that degree is not going to pay me what I'm making with my nursing. So education is important if you're going for something specific. I wouldn't push it. I wouldn't say for certain I'm not going to say which courses I wouldn't agree with, but I feel like a lot of times people waste money in college for stuff you don't need a college degree for, but that's just my opinion.
Okay. I hear you. Because I'm more like on Tesha's side, where I'm a creator. I never liked school. Even when I went to school, I hated school, but I did well in school because I had to do well in school. Mm-hmm. And once I got out, I was so happy. Like, I never even thought about college. Well, I did. I'm not going to lie. I thought about college because I wanted to be a lawyer. If I couldn't be a lawyer, I didn't want to do anything else. There was no other options when it came to going to school for me to do anything else. And at the time, I was almost kind of taking care of myself. And I didn't want to have a full-time job and go to school to be a lawyer, law school, and the whole 9 yards. So I just gave that up, and I just always thought about entrepreneurship, creative, things like that. So yeah, see, I get it. I'm
a backtrack a little. So where Tesha was influenced by my mother to go and do hair, watching my grandmother get ready for work. She worked at Kings County Hospital. Watching her iron her uniforms, polish up her shoes, and get ready for work. She took pride in that. And I would watch her and I would say, I'm going to do that. I'm going to take care of her one day. I'm going to help her. And so I started out as an EMT. And then I went for medical billing and coding. And then I got a grant to go to nursing school. So I didn't have to pay for that. I didn't have to pay for my associate's degree because we was foster kids. So they paid for that. The only degree I had to pay for was my psychology degree. But then I got certified as a child life specialist, which I will use that later on in my career. And what I tell people is that our journeys are different. And I believe God put me in nursing to prepare me for my daughter, who I need to take care of.
Wow.
And I feel like all of my skills that I learned out in the streets as an EMT, medical billing and coding, and now working with different populations in nursing has prepared me to take care of my adolescent baby, but I also take care of adults with special needs.
Wow.
The fact that that Tesha taught me how to do hair. So that's my side. Well, I make more money doing hair than I do nursing. So pay attention. You don't need a college degree necessarily because I make more money. I make my paycheck over the weekend. That takes me 2 weeks to make in nursing. So I always encourage, but I know that I have a reason because even when I wasn't nursing, I could still do hair. When my daughter was first born and I couldn't work, I could still do hair and make money. And I'm a crafter, so I'm a knitter and I do other stuff, but hair and nursing are my two main. And now I'm just trying to bring awareness through my knitting craft, my handmade stuff.
So you are creative too, even though you have degrees, you got a lot going on there, girl. That's nice.
Well, thank you.
Nice. Good for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're totally opposite in that way. So she's like, she says scholastic. And but my grandmother already knew like school really wasn't my thing. I'm cutting classes, I'm getting suspended, I'm getting into a lot of fights, whatever. I have Taneka coming into my class to take my test, so it is what it is. We're 50 now. Nobody's gonna, so so it really wasn't my thing. I was going to a two-year college on a 4-year plan, never graduated. So then I said, okay, while in college, I saw this girl, her name was Sherelle. We used to be friends. And she was always doing her nails, her acrylic nails. And she would be funking up the hallway with these long acrylic nails. And she, in college, I'm doing hair, she's doing nails. And so I was like, you know what? I want to learn nails. So I enrolled into nail school. And back then, that was in 1999, I got my nail license. There wasn't many Black nail technicians. So, rest in peace, Miss B. 5 years later, my teacher referred me to sit on the state board of nail licenses. I was the proctor. I would pass or fail you for your exams for New York State. But my grandfather wasn't happy because I didn't graduate college, So he was like, nails, what kind of, he was not happy. He was not happy. Even on his deathbed, I had opened my first salon, and it was a nail salon. It was 5 stations and 5 nail stations, and then there was 2 hair stations in the back of the salon because braiding was always my hustle. If I wasn't going to make money doing nails, I was going to make my money doing some hair. So I even had my lamps. So the last time I saw my grandfather, I had gone shopping for lamps for the tables, for the nail tables, and he was dying. He had cancer, and he just squeezed my hand 3 times. I didn't know what that meant later. And then when I read it, that meant he was saying, I love you. And so that was his last day. I never saw him after that, but he knew that I was opening up my business, and it was that business failed. But his wife, his third wife, actually gave me the name of that business. And I use it now on my oils and my shampoo bars and stuff like that. Nurtured Nails. She said nurtured because it's to take care of. And so she let me use her. She was a diabetic. So of course, I have to be careful. I'm cutting her cuticles. I have to make sure that she loved the acrylics. So she let me practice on her. And so I would go over there like almost every 2 weeks to do her nails, and she let me do it. And so nurtured nails. So you will still see like nurtured nails, hair, and skin on some of my products because I never let that go.
Tisha had all of the guinea pigs. You see that, right?
That's what I was going to ask you. Why are you laughing, Niqi? It's because I figured that's what it was.
So, but there wasn't a lot of black nail techs. And so I started working at this posh place up on 96th Street. And that's where I met my first celebrity. And I used to do it. You remember Hal Jackson?
Yes.
I used to do his nails. But no, I shouldn't even say this, but rest in peace. He used to get acrylic on his big toes.
Really?
So the owner didn't want to do it. So she had me do it. So I used to do acrylic on his toes because he was married to a younger wife, and he wanted to look good for his younger wife. So he would come in all the time to get acrylic on his toes. That was my first celebrity. Then I ended up leaving her, and I went to I used to work at the Twin Towers, and the name was Joseph Siones. I was the only one in there doing acrylics. So he had me train. It was a Polish lady. I still have the China set that she gave me as a thank you to pass her state boards, because that's what kept failing her. She couldn't do acrylics. She only could do manicures. So he said, Tesha, can you please train her? And I trained her. She passed her state boards, and she gave me a nice China set. I was so upset one piece broke, but I still have the rest. And that was my thank you. Then I moved on to, and again, this is because I didn't go to college, right? Then I went on and I worked at Saks Fifth Avenue, where I met Al Roker's wife, Debbie. And that's all I got to say about that. So I went back to school for aesthetics because it was right down the street from Saks Fifth Avenue, where I was working. So I went back for aesthetics, and it was only two of us in the class because, again, we weren't doing skincare back then. And that was in 2002. I got my my license in aesthetics. So while I was there, I was teaching the nail program to offset my tuition. There I met Miss Essie herself. And you know Essie, you see all of her nail polishes in every store, every Target, every Essie. I have her picture. Oh, I have her picture here in the salon.
So that's the actual name of somebody?
Yes. Essie Cosmetics. Yes, I met her in person. She wasn't going to sit there and do no pedicures, but she was going to sell you her product. You know what I mean? So that's just marketing. And then, when I moved to Pennsylvania is when I ended up having to get my cosmetology license. But out there, I was grandfathered in to do natural hair care. I didn't have to go to school for that because I was already doing that. So I don't know. And now I hold 6 licenses in 3 states. And I'm working on my 7th. Yeah.
Good for
so
you.
I just
So like I said,
going back to school.
Tisha's really deep in the hair and the skin and the nails. That's her thing. And we always tease 2 things. Tesha went back to school. She does have a degree, even though she didn't mention it. She's a mortician, and I'm a nurse. So I say, I'll take care of the living, you take care of the dead. That was one. And then when she was in aesthetic school, I still don't like facials because Tesha dragged me there as a proctor, a guinea pig, another guinea pig. And the girl who had to do my face had the mask on, and she kept saying, "Are you okay?" Now I can't see nothing, and that's already freaking me out. I don't know what you're doing. And she's like, "Are you okay? Are you sure you're okay?" I'm like, "Should I not be okay? Like, get this off of me. You freaking me out." But I still don't get facials to this day. Not like that. Then the steam was taking my breath away. I'm like, oh, it's not very relaxing for me.
Okay.
And guess what I got to do tomorrow night? My last client is a facial using Alternatives salon products.
Really?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I gotta talk to you about a facial. I don't mind facials, but I can understand where you're coming from. But yeah. I remember one time I went to a spa and got a facial, And it wasn't something that was on my face. It was just that the girl was so rough. Like she wanted to get the blackheads. And when I left there, my face was swollen. I was like, I'm not going to another facial again in my life.
Wow.
But yeah, that was interesting.
Your face
and
looks
you've never
good.
done it again?
Huh?
You've never done it again?
So maybe I'll
and your face looks good. Your face looks good.
Thank you. But I trust you, Tesha. I will try again with you.
I like Tesha's products. They're really good.
Yeah. I'm gonna try it. Fix your face.
Yeah, no, that's all I got to say. But yes, I did go back to college, but I was already like 45. And my husband did not believe I was going to be able to go through it. I'm like, here we go, another negative, you know what I mean? He's like, you're not going to want to deal with the dead. Wait till you get your first body. I'm like, I'm going to show you, and I completed the program. It took me 3 years because that's the length of the program, but I completed it. And then COVID happened. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to go working with them because I don't know if I'm going to get something from these courses. It's almost like when AIDS came out and nobody really knew, but nobody wanted to be around it either. You see all these people die of COVID. Who wanted to be in that,
Right.
field? But I chose fields that will never go out of business. Hair is always going to be there. You're always going to have a hand in the head. And death is going to be happening throughout life, throughout eternity.
Yeah, everybody does. Yep.
Yes. So those are two fields that's always going to be productive.
Nursing.
Yes.
Nursing.
Anything medical. Oh, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
And people knock the trades, but now we have all these techie people and nobody can change a light bulb, plunge a toilet. You know what I mean? So you still need these jobs that nobody wants. And they're getting paid hand over fist. Sometimes you got to pay them $50 an hour just to walk in. Yes. or more. And the less that there are of them, the more in demand of money they can make.
That's totally true. Now I want to backtrack a minute because you said something very interesting and I want to touch on it, but I want to also hear what you had to say. You were talking about how us as Black women, we weren't into those things like with the nails and doing the facial. Why do you think that is? Was it something that stopped us from doing it? I mean, because you're in it, so maybe you can give some insight on that.
With the nails, it was more, and even today, they want to go to the other people to get their nails done.
Okay.
We charge too much. We take too long. But some of that I blame on us because sometimes we are unprofessional. We're not on time. I think sometimes it's us that make others not want to come to us. You know what I mean? Like we're the ones that's acting up, the technician. Like when you come here, Lisa, your appointment time is your appointment time. I like to see you come. I like to see you go. Moving on to the next. I did 7 clients and still was able. I did 2 extensions today and clients in between and still was able to get to your show on time. Matter of fact, I didn't finish my client until 6:00, and I knew I had to be on here by 6:15. So it's all in the scheduling of your time. And I find that we don't schedule our time well. But we just prefer to go to others instead of, it's almost like, why don't we have enough beauty supply stores? Why is that? Facials, it really was more of a Caucasian thing. Now we are trying to take care of our skin. But I remember, and I still use it to this day to remove my makeup. My grandmother always used Pond's cold cream. In school, we learned use cold cream. Mm-hmm. So what better cold cream to use than my old fashioned Pond's? And that's what I use to take off my makeup. Everything else I use is Alternatives Beauty Studio. But the cold cream, I still use that. But that's the way they took care of their skin back in the days, or Vaseline. But she wasn't heavy on the Vaseline until it was cold to protect our face. But I think that's the reason. We weren't into skincare like that. We didn't know about taking care of our skin. And even to this day, I'm not really big on the SPFs and all of that because those are known to cause cancer, even though they say it's blocking it. And I'm just like, I'm not too sure about that. Mm-hmm. I'm not too sure about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What about you, Niqi? You feel the same way?
I think that we're coming a long way. Well, we already know Madam C.J. Walker. She was with the hair, but of course it was a different time. I think that now we're progressing. We're into the skin, but it was that black don't crack thing. So we really didn't have to really care for our skin as much as the Caucasian people had to. But I think even now, fine, we're learning about skin. We're learning about private area care. We're doing more now and educating others more now. However, I've met Black students who don't want to do Black hair. They want to do other hair instead. And I'm like, do what you feel. They feel like the others pay better and are better than us. You know what I'm saying? And so they prefer to do white hair. That's just, and I'm finding quite a few of us that's going that route as well.
I hate to hear that, only because what I don't like in beauty schools is, it's true. Nobody wants to do natural hair in school. They always, and it's not even about doing straight hair or wavy hair. It's more, nobody wants to do natural hair. That's where my problem lies. It's like, why not? You know what I'm saying? And that's where the money is. Yeah, people are not realizing, for me, for non-surgical hair replacement, instead of getting paid $200 for a weave or a wig, you're getting paid $2,000 for the same lace front wig, that you partially make, and your insurance is paying for it. You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody's seeing the bigger picture. What gets me also is, let's say box braids were $150 in the 1990s. People are still wanting to pay $150 today. And that's a problem. When people look at my website and they're like $360, yes, well, I'm used to paying, well, then go there, because you're not my client. You're not my client, and I'm not going to lower my price to appease you. You know what I mean?
Natural hair. Okay, yeah. You made a point about natural hair. I had to think about what my point was on that. But even to that, when you go to certain shops, they charge you more if you come in there with natural hair. They don't want to deal with natural hair either. When you go into these spots and you want braids, they're like, we charging you extra to braid your hair because it's natural. So don't nobody want to deal, they don't want to deal. And so
that's just the reality.
Yeah, I was grandfathered in as well when I moved to Alabama, because the natural hair license is new for the state of Alabama. It's only been around a few years, but I was grandfathered in all of these magazines. I submitted to the Board of Cosmetology. Tesha showed me how to get into the magazines as well. And so I submitted that to the Board of Cosmetology. They said, hey, we don't need nothing else. Here's your license. And so I was able to bring my assistant in under me. And so she got licensed through the cosmetology board. So I never had to go to school for my natural hair license. They just grandfathered me in. And even still, I find myself amazing myself with things that I do on clients. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do it this way. I think and this is just a life thing. I think that everything you experience or go through, like my knitting, can help me with my braiding. I'll do a different technique. I'll say, I could use the crochet hook to do this. Or, I could stitch it down this way and make it lay the way I want. So I think all of that crafting side, and I think people trust me because when I say, you need to do this, that, and the other with your hair because you're lacking this nutrition, this vitamin, whatever. So they're like, well, you're a nurse.
That's the nursing part.
Yeah, they say, you're a nurse, you would know. And so I think that everything comes together at a certain point. And to your thing, Tesha, you were saying you was going back to school at an older age. I was an older student. I was working and I was in school, and my students, because I was teaching. And I was in my 40s, but going back late, but I was determined to get that bachelor's degree because Grandpa said you needed a college degree.
You were the one that listened, like, okay, I gotta listen to this. So I want to ask, because going back to the certifications for natural hair. So from what I understand, and I spoke to someone in a previous podcast, that all states don't recognize natural hair. How does that make you feel? Because I don't know. It irks my nerves to say, why is it not good enough to be a certification? Like, what is the deal with that?
I could tell you why for PA and Delaware.
Why?
Because I called the board and asked several times. Because when I was in school in 2009, I went to a Paul Mitchell school, mainly color and cuts. And I kept saying, this is not what I'm going to be doing. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to be doing this. The teachers would say, well, if you went to Philly, which is still in PA, it's still the state of PA. You could probably get your natural, but we're still in the state. So I called the state board. And I even recently called her again because I wanted to know. And I have something else to say after this. But they said because not enough people signed up for the natural hair care licenses, therefore we eliminated that because they did have it, but not enough people wanted to take it. So it was like a waste of their time, and they want to get paid their money. The states want to get paid their money. So they're getting paid their money by giving you all cosmetology, the whole all the way down the line. Where in New York, I specifically only went to nail school. I then specifically only went to aesthetic school for aesthetic and makeup. And I was only going for makeup, but she said, you have to have that clean skin under. What's the point in having a canvas, that's lumpy and bumpy? You got to clean the skin up first and then put the makeup on. And that's how I ended up with aesthetics. I wasn't going for the whole, she sold me with that, you got to take care of what's underneath. She got me with that. She really got me with that.
Niqi, you laugh. Why?
Because it's true. It's the whole sale.
Not only that, but hold up, T. Keep your thought.
Yep.
My thing is, people like Tesha, she went to all of these schools, but she probably have more knowledge than I do. You know what I'm saying? Because she went into depth on what she studied. She went into depth on the nails. She went into depth on the skin. And people don't recognize, even when you get your natural hair, you learning about the follicles and the cuticles and the blah, 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 blah. So I think people look at it as a general broad, oh, that's a natural hair license or whatever, but they don't know the study that goes behind it, the anatomy that you have to study. They don't recognize how much you putting into it compared to a degree. You doing the same, you have to learn the anatomy. You have to learn so much more. I'm sure Tesha learned so much more on skin, the sebaceous glands and the this and the that and blah, 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 blah. Same as if she went to a 2-year school and got an associate's degree in whatever. You know what I'm saying? So go ahead, Tesha. I'm sorry. If that makes sense. Did that make sense, Lisa, what I just
definitely.
said? Okay.
So, but that's what happened with the natural hair care license. And then my other thing was, so you see all these beauty schools. You don't see many Black owners of beauty schools.
Yeah.
You're starting to see them now. But I am a teacher now. The person that owns the school has 80 where in our neighborhoods. Why? Because he could get financial aid. Tuition, $22,000 per student. How many students? 5,860 students. One company is not franchised. It's all going to one person. What am I in school to do? I got my teacher's license for PA. I'm working on my teacher's license for Delaware. I'm getting a reciprocity. Why? Because I want to open a school myself. Why not? Why? Why don't we own schools? I'm only seeing schools owned by us in the South. What about up here? It's not like, the knowledge is if you read it, you got to read it. And we don't like to read. And that's another problem because we could have been had schools, but we're not reading, oh yeah, you could be a school owner. We only reading, you could own a beauty store, not even a beauty supply. You could own a salon. You could work for a salon. You could work for a product company. You can be what's that when you're on the stage? Yeah, platform artist. You can represent other people's brands. They don't teach you, you can own your own brand. I had to learn it from one of us, that you can own your own brand. I have to go through the shows and see my name cosmetics and stuff like that to see that I can own my own brand. A lot of people don't even know the makeup is only made by 3 companies out here. They make all of the makeup across the board for our region. And then in California, they have maybe 3 or whatever. They all make the same makeup. It's just branded differently. It's all the same. And they may add a little twinge of this here, a little more color there. That's it. But it's all the same company. But who's going to tell you that? And this is why I continue to go to school. I continue to get more education. Even if it's not from school, I'm continuing taking classes. I'm in classes right now. But yeah, I'm just saying. It's us. We need to do our own research. We need to be more in tune of what's going on. We need to be more aware. We need to be more aware.
Now, for me in Alabama, when it comes to the natural hair licensure, like I said, you could go to high school and get your natural hair license before you even graduate high school. However, they're just teaching you how to do the natural hair. I get a lot, do you teach braiding? And so I wanted to open up a braiding school. So I called the Board of Cosmetology and they said, no, you have to have a school that's just like a regular cosmetology. And I'm like, well, I'm not doing chemicals. So I don't need all of the stuff that people doing chemicals need. I don't need all of that extra space. I'm not for the ventilation. I don't need all of that. We're just braiding hair. And they said, no. And then they say that my skill set is too advanced. If they want to take a class, like I could do workshops, but I can't open up a school. So that's the state of Alabama.
Wow. PA in Delaware, the same thing. You have to have a complete school. You cannot have just a specialty school. In New York, you can have a specialty school. And now is one braiding school out there in Queens. I follow her. But it's only one now, and she just opened up a couple months ago. But in New York, it's fine. But other states, you have to have the full school. Because that's what I said. I said, I only want to teach natural hair care. And they said, no, you have to be licensed under the Department of Education. They have to approve the school, the curriculum.
Wow. That's like a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Then that's why it's even hard to find a natural hair salon, because like what you said, they're not doing it, you know.
Mm-hmm. And another reason why you have to be
down here in Alabama, you can find plenty of natural hair salons.
Really?
And you could find plenty of Black-owned cosmetology schools down here. You can.
Not in the north.
That's what I'm saying. It's like night and day. It's like night and day.
Yeah.
It's like night and day.
And I would never think down south would, you know, when you go
south. The white people don't want to do the black hair. Come on now. I'm still in racial country. You know what I mean? Y'all stay on your side. I stay, you know, I always know where I am.
My first natural hair style was done by a white girl. It's weird because I went to this shop in Harlem and it was owned by, I don't know if you guys knew, and I can't remember their name. They were Sistahs. They made a product. I think they were like half Asian and Black.
Taneka, the two girls and one committed suicide.
Yeah, I don't know who she's talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
I went to their shop.
Mixed chicks? No, not mixed chicks.
No.
Go ahead.
I went to their shops and she did my hair. She did a really good job. And she did like the two-strand twist. And I was asking her all types of questions like, how did you end up doing this? What's going on? Because they were actually selling the shop and I think she was looking to buy it. So all the training that she did, she just went on her own and she was in the shop. I think she had one other person working with her and it was like she was running that shop. Like she knew what to do. So she did my hair and then she had the other person help me because it was a lot of two-strand twists. I mean, it came out good. I was kind of shocked. My hair was soft and I was like, wow, okay. She was definitely trained. She was just copying what she saw.
Because I trained one when I was in school in 2009. Nobody wanted to touch my hair because I had locks. The youngest one in the class, and we're still very close today. She calls me Mama T. She was the youngest, I was the oldest, and she learned how to do the locks, and she started doing her boyfriend's locks. But they're no longer together. But she wasn't afraid to touch my hair. She wasn't afraid. And now I teach, and there's one girl in the class with locks. Nobody wants to. It's the same thing over again. Nobody wants to touch her hair. Because they're scared to touch it. It's like, it's hair. What is the problem? And her hair is probably easier to do because it's already parted. You don't have to do anything. Like, you know, washing her hair, how hard is that? It's soap and water, you know, because it's something different, because it feels different, because there's a kink to it. That's why you don't want to touch her hair. No, you're in cosmetology school. Everybody has to do everybody's hair.
That pisses me the fuck off. It's like, why you don't want to touch my hair? It just gets.
But then she will say, I don't want everybody's energy in my hair. If they don't want to do my hair, don't touch my hair because I don't want that kind of energy in my hair. But then it's again, as an educator, I have to say, no, they have to do your hair because they have to learn. But again, it's that thing of, well, I'm not going to really be doing this. So why do I have to do it here? And why do I have, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Back to the natural, you know, why we had to get licensed for our natural hair is because we were going into the other shops. They were not practicing sanitation. So they would use the same cone on Lisa as Tesha as Taneka, without cleaning them, they would hit the floor, they would pick it up, put it back on your head. That was a problem. They would have the comb in their mouth while they're braiding and talking on the phone, eating their chicken. And all. Sanitation was the number one reason we had to become we had to become licensed, because they were coming into the shops and they were like, this is hair all over the floor. You know what I'm saying? 2 and 3 people. And that back in the day, they were using the lighters and we're not allowed to use any flame, to burn it in.
Oh, they can't do those anymore.
Well, they can't really tell us not to, but yeah, whatever. And then the other part of that was the government wanted their cut. Now they can't teach us how to braid, but they want their piece of the pie, because now they see you making money and they're like, they can't be having no business without paying us. And so, but the number one reason was sanitation, and then people losing their edges. Too many people were losing their edges because the braids were too tight. They're putting, 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound bag. You have 2 pieces of hair and you got these, and that's when people were like, oh, I don't want to see any parts. So they would use a little tiny piece, and you still see it on TikTok and YouTube. They use a little piece of hair and then they put a lot of hair on top of it to put the braid, and it's weighing it down. It's too heavy. And
I've lost clients because I say, no, I'm not going to do that. Well, the other shops will do it. And I'm like, well, you could take them to the other shops, because I'm not going to do it and lose my good name. Yeah. And then I had a client who, she's white, but she took in foster kids. So she had a Black daughter, and she took them to one of the shops, and she was talking to the person, and she said, Niqi, out of nowhere, a person crept up from a bed. They were sleeping there. And she said, I had to get out of there because she didn't know. And so then that's when she started bringing the baby to me. But she didn't, at the time, I was school nursing, and she didn't know that I had a shop. And then when she found out, that's when she asked me to do it. She said she took them to the other shop, and she's like, I just saw a person moving. She didn't even know a person was in there sleeping in the main area. So, yep. Good old Alabama.
Interesting. I remember when I used to get my hair braided for weaves, and I don't know, they used to come out with these shops that you could get like $50 weaves. So I would go to those shops, and me, I'm not gonna say I'm bougie, but I always get the most expensive package because I'm afraid if I get the cheap one, I'm gonna get screwed. Even with the expensive package, I was still getting screwed. They would put a young girl on my head to braid my hair, and she would braid so tight. And I would say, okay, look, please don't braid my hair tight. I said, that braid right there is tight. Please take it out and let's do it again. So she would take it out and do it again. Okay, she was doing good. But she was running her mouth so much. When she got to the next braid, it was tight again. I said, no, Can you please take that braid out? It's too tight. Right. I said, you cannot braid my hair tight.
Now she's getting annoyed.
Very much so. Very much so. Now she's trying to be quiet and braid my hair. She can't help it. This is a young girl. This happened like maybe 15 years ago. This is a young girl. So she don't care. She's talking again now. She's braiding my hair tight. So I got up from the seat and I went over to, I think there was a manager there. I went over to the manager. I said, look, she cannot braid my hair. It's too tight. I can't have my hair tight. I have issues with tight braids. She was like, I can have someone else braid it for you. I said, first question, they're going to braid it tight? Because I just want to make it clear that I don't want anybody in my hair if they're going to braid it tight. So finally, she said, no. She said, I'll braid your hair. She said, if you could wait a little bit I was impressed with the customer service. She said, if you can wait a little bit longer, I will definitely braid your hair once I'm finished with this customer. She braided my hair and it was so comfortable. Like, it's like with me, not only with hair, y'all, it's like when I go get my toes done, which I don't anymore because I don't trust them. I'm always looking like don't mess me up now. Don't mess me up. Like the cuticle one time, this one, I think she was Hispanic or Vietnamese. It was one of them because they had a mix in that. And she was cutting the cuticle so bad. Like she kept going, like she couldn't catch it. So a week, I used to go every 2 weeks. So once I got the nail polish taken off, I saw there was trauma on my toenail. It was like a little black spot. And it's funny because when I went back to them, it didn't dawn on me that that's what it was the first time I saw it. But when I saw it the next time, somebody else did my feet and she pointed it out. I said, yeah, one of the girls over here did that to my feet. She said, oh, and she left it alone. So it's for me. I know how I am. especially if I had trauma, I'm definitely going to be on it. Like, don't do this, don't do that, or stop doing this, or, do it like this. This is, and it's not because I'm overbearing or demanding. It's just that I've been through shit. Like, it bothered me, it hurt me. So I just want to make sure moving forward, I don't, get that feeling anymore. So that's what this is crazy.
As a nail tech, I never get a pedicure, ever. The most you're going to give me is a polish change. I could wash my own feet. I do not get, because you don't even need your, and let me tell you something, that cuticle cutting and the peeler, illegal. Not supposed to even be a Krew blade. Those are illegal.
That's the one that removes the skin a little bit, right? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because you could go too deep. Her cutting your cuticle like that, you could have been a diabetic. You could have started bleeding and she wouldn't have been able to stop the bleeding. So, yeah, all she needed to do was file a buff that down. She didn't even need to be cutting. And sometimes they're cutting just for the sake of cutting, but there's really nothing else for her to cut. You know what I mean? She could have buffed that down. So I don't go, I'm with you, Lisa. I haven't had a pedicure in years. Yeah, I will go and I will just get a polished change. That's all I want. That's all I get is a polished change. And I don't go nowhere with my sister, period. Tesha was a state examiner for New York. We went to get our nails done or whatever. And Tesha they had pets and stuff in the shop. I think a cat or two. And so Tesha was like, I want everything new. Like, she didn't want no used emery boards and stuff like that. She wanted everything fresh and new out the packs. And they was giving her a hard time. Oh, this was only used once. She was like, I don't care. I want everything new. And so she was like, I'm a state board examiner. Do I have to pull out I was like, oh my Lord. She said, and y'all ain't supposed to have these cats in here. And Tesha was going in. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going with her nowhere ever again in life. I'm through. So that's my story. It's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. It's the truth. I can't even deny it. And I didn't know that you could ask for new. And then I started seeing that they have little kits for people. Like if you're a regular person, they started making you a personalized kit. But I don't get my nails done enough to even, but I don't get manicures or pedicures. I'll let them do the polish change on my feet because I like the way they shape the toe before they polish it. That's about it.
Yeah.
But Lisa, let's say your nip or whatever, now she didn't really sanitize that, and now she's going to use that same nip on me. This is why I wanted everything new. What if she cut Taneka, with her file because it was too sharp, and now she's going to use that same file on me? No, don't give me that same file. I want my own file. I want a fresh file. And what my teacher, rest in peace, said to me, while she was a Black teacher too. She was a Black nail tech. She said, if you see them wearing the mask, and this was before COVID, obviously, because this was in, 1998. If you see them wearing a mask, then you need to ask for a mask too, because whatever they're using is not good for you to be breathing in. So, because they have a lot of chemicals like MMA, that's illegal here. So you have to use the higher brands, and they're not going to show you, oh, I'm using OPI, I'm using, creative brand. They're not going to let you see the name brand. So you don't know what they're using on you, where they're getting it from. And a lot of times this illegal stuff, because they want the acrylic harder and harder, and if they're made here in the States, the acrylic is too soft, whatever. But she said, if you see them wearing a mask, then you need to ask for a mask too, because they're blocking out their dust. Why should you be sucking in all the dust? You know what I'm saying? And another thing she always says, she never agreed with the drills. And this is just for my nail people who might be listening. She never agreed with the drills, of course, because it does damage, and as it grows out, you see the dents. She said, if you can't file that acrylic down with your file, then you have it too thick. And she really made us be professional. She made us be professional. We were not allowed to use drills. We were not allowed to, she was like, if you have to keep filing, you're just going to have to keep filing it down. But that means you put too much product on that nail. But she never agreed with those drills.
Wow.
I think that today, okay, so you're talking about when you was in school back in the 90s and today, like our we just want what we want when we want it, how we want it. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Nobody cares, you know. Right. And I'm going to say that for all professions, because we see it in the nursing profession, we see it in the teachers, we see it with people doing the hair, because I've seen some horrible stuff with the braids too tight, with the blistering in the top.
Yes.
Just horrible. But we don't take the time to care enough. I know that where I work, the owner wants his daughter to be trained under me, but she's young and I might not be her generation. You know, I might not be relatable to her, but he knows that she would get a lot of knowledge sitting up under me because I've been doing it so long. And he refers so many people to me because he's like, she's the one, not any of the other hair people here. None of them. You need to go see Niqi. I'm like, well, thank you. But yeah, I think that that we're losing connection or whatever, you know, with this newer generation. That's a whole
nother topic, Lisa. That's a whole nother topic, because I believe it's the generations, like Taneka said, but also the upbringing of the newer generation.
So that's totally different. Totally different,
but the same, because now I'm teaching and I'm seeing the students that I'm teaching, and these are adults. We're talking about 19 to like 24, 25 years old. And okay, I'm 50. They look at me, they respect what I've done, but they're disrespectful and they don't want to learn. They don't want to study. They think they know. They think they know. They just want to get on the hair, but they don't know the theory behind. Like you said, they have to know what these diseases, what hair can't you do? And you have to know the technical names. You can't say, oh, lice. You have to say the actual names, you know, and so they just want to, and so they complain a lot. You know, it's always like a big tug back and forth. But look, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here and I want you to do beyond passing state board. You know what I mean? I want you to learn more than just for this test tomorrow. You need to know this for the state board in the future. And you got a whole year and a half to go. You know, so if you don't have it, you're just not going to have it. But it's like a tug and pull. And they, like 3 or 4 of them complained about me. They don't like my tone, because they say they don't like the way I speak. You know, I'm a little too harsh, you know, but they love that I know what I know. They love my knowledge, but they don't like the way I convey it. And I'm like, I'm not softening it up for you. You need to study. One girl gonna come talking about, I don't have time to study because I have 2 kids. Whose fault is that? Whose problem is that? You're here to learn. You trying to get me to give you the test, the questions from the test so you don't have to study. That's not the way this is going down. So they wanted to make a complaint. No, I'm not changing it. And, you know, of course, my director had my back. It's not my job to study for you. Go home and study. What did you think you did what did you expect when you enrolled into school? You have to study. Oh,
but it goes back to that goes back to just wanting to do the act and not what I said about you before. You know, a lot of information. They don't want to learn. They just see what they see. They want the final look. They want that final picture. But they don't want to do the labor part of learning.
Because I think social media makes it seem as if you're going to come out and you're just going to right away. And no, you don't have the skill yet. You have to build that skill up. And it's not what you see. You could look at things on YouTube all day. They're cutting things out. They're not putting everything in there. They're not really showing you all of it. You know what I'm saying? If that was the case, you wouldn't have a need to come to school.
Yeah.
You know?
Social media does portray that. Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry.
I think too, we was talking about the differences and everything, but see, I'm in the South and you're in the North. And when it comes to the hair industry as a whole for the Black community, we have so many issues with pricing. So I could go to Tesha salon and pay $220 for box braids, but I'm gonna go to Niqi salon and just pay $180. It's not standard across the board, $220. You know, for the same type of a style. That's an issue that we have down here. It's like, well, you know, cutthroat, I'm gonna do your relaxer for $25 here, and somebody else gonna do it for $60 down the street, whereas the others are gonna charge you a pretty penny. You know, I don't know. It's just a mess.
Yeah, that is a mess. Wow. It is cutthroat. Really?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Wow. You guys
shared a lot of information. The one thing that I do appreciate down here, when I moved here from New York, I met a guy, Darius Peace, and he really welcomed me into the natural hair community down here, because he does just natural hair. He does the texturing of like your fros and stuff like that. That's his thing. And then he'll send them to me, clients to me, because he doesn't do braids. He's like, I ain't got
What
time
you
for
said
that.
his last name was? Again?
Peace. Darius Peace. And they used to do a Black Expo, him and his wife, every year, but then they had to stop because they got 5 kids. He was like, I had to stop because I have 5 kids. And so he welcomes me into the community, and he still does. We support one another when we see each other. But then he stole my stuff. I'm going to get him. But I did his locks. I started his locks, micro locks, but now he has something called Peace Locks. I'm like, you just took my stuff. But he is one, he'll put your locks on a roller set, and that's his signature style for his salon. But, you know, they really were welcoming to me. Deborah Alexander was another lady. I worked under her, but she does the relaxing side. Again, I'm just a natural girl. She opened up her own cosmetology school. I went to her school's graduation yesterday. She was just like, thank you, Niqi, for being here and supporting. I'm like, always, because what had happened was she had been working for a lot of different salons and making them millionaires. And she was like, I need my own school. I need to be a millionaire. So her sister, she's a creative, and her sister is a by the book. And so her sister helped her to get all of the paperwork she needed to get done to open up the school. And now this was her first graduating class. So I was like, I'm proud of her, because she's in her 60s and she didn't stop until she got that school, because she knew that that's what she wanted for herself. So, you know.
That's a good story. Wow. You ladies are on point tonight.
The point is, I'm the worker bee. Tesha's the entrepreneur. And I will always say that. Because people say, why don't you do hair full time? I'm a worker. Tesha's an entrepreneur. Tesha does not like working for anybody. Tesha likes to train and mentor. I like my own little space. I have a little cubicle, and I work in my own space at my own pace. I work nursing 3 days. I do hair 3 days. I have 1 day off during the week, but I'm a worker bee, and I know that about myself. And so it doesn't matter how y'all put us against each other, compare us. You know, I know what my lane is. And then when I don't want to do nothing, I do nothing. Like, I'm tired, I'm not doing anything, you know. But I know that Tesha always liked this road of having the independence. And see, people sometimes down the hair industry, not knowing how much money you could have in the industry, because for her to have been in business for so long and I have a job, she makes the money to pay the bills, to put her daughter in cheer, to help her son in football and wrestling, to help her other son do whatever it is that he likes to do with his little gaming self, you know. So you can't knock the hustle, is what I'm trying to say, and to know where you are. Like, she knows that she likes to be free. And I know that I like a little limitation. I know that what I do helps my community, whether it's doing hair or whether it's nursing, whether it's educating or advocating. You know, I feel like I know where I am and what my purpose is. And so I won't feel bad when people say, well, why don't you just do hair full time? Why don't you just do nursing full time? Why don't you? No, you're not going to put me in a box like that. But I know where I'm comfortable. And I feel like people need to get to where they are comfortable.
Absolutely. And why don't you mind your business? I like your perspective on things, like as far as what you and your sister, how she is with her, you know, career, how you are with your career. I love how you put it, and it's so clear to understand. So it's amazing that you guys look so much alike and so different.
I'm the fatter version. I'm the fatter version.
You're loving the scholastic part, Niqi. I'm gonna get you, you know. But yeah, go ahead. I'm listening.
No, I'm the fatter version of Tesha. You know,
that's just the camera. That's camera.
That's just the camera. Well, Tesha looks skinny on the camera.
No, you got a little wideness going on.
No, we used to be pit against that as well. Our families used to do that. Like, Tesha, you're fatter than Taneka. Well, Taneka's fatter than Tesha now. I know I'm eating too many ho-hos and ding-dongs.
I can't eat that stuff no more. I'm scared. Oh, but we can end it here. I had fun. I don't know about y'all.
Yeah,
it was fun. Nice and easy.
A lot of things.
I learned a lot of shit. I'm gonna watch when I go to when I do some others, when I start talking to my audiences and stuff, I'm gonna say, let me tell you what I learned from the twins. I'm calling y'all the twins. Y'all want to know who the twins is? Make sure y'all watch their episode. They dropping mad jewels, so check them out. But yeah, I'm gonna be showing this one off. So, and I've never had like two people. This is my first. You guys are the first.
Oh, thank you.
Yep. That's always
another tip. Well, whenever next, is about when you open your business, starting everything under your EIN, having your own business credit, not your personal social security number,
right? To
open up your salons, to open up your schools, you want to do everything under your business name. That's all I got to say.
Absolutely. And I want you to say why. I know the answer, but I want you to say why it's important to do it that way.
You want to keep everything separate. You don't want to be sued personally.
Yeah.
You don't want to be sued personally. And you don't want it under a sole proprietorship, because you asking for trouble. Somebody slips in your salon and it's a sole proprietorship, they're suing you, your next generation, and the generation after that. So you want to protect yourself by being a corporation. I don't even say an LLC, but it's whatever. Everybody got their own. Your accountant got to tell you how to form your business. That's all I got to say about that.
Thank you for that good information. I'm sure it'll definitely be appreciated. All right, ladies, thank you for joining the show. It was a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you for having us.
Look, I had a fun time. This is not a podcast. This is like a chat or something.
Yes, it was great. It was amazing.
And I hope those people that listen to it feel the same way. So thanks you again.
All right, this is Tesha, Alternatives Beauty Studio.
I'm Taneka Gillard. I am naturally yours.
And we are Twiness.
All right. Wow. I learned so much from these two. There's context in this episode I never knew about from jump, which is why I love this podcast, because there's always an experience to learn something new. Now, Twiness, they brought the pain, they broke it down, and they delivered. And hearing their stories allow me to trust their thoughts and theories, because the reason that they kept it so real, it allowed me to do that. And that's what I like on this show. It's not only real stories, but the ability to share the actual realness behind it. Always expect that from the Kinky in the Kitchen podcast. I have this conversation with each and every one of my guests. It's like a prerequisite. But guess what? With Tesha and Taneka, I didn't have that conversation with them. For some reason, I missed that. But believe it or not, I forgot to mention to them that telling their true stories is what y'all sisters out there like to hear. And they did it without me telling them. Now, that's realness at its finest. Remember, sis, you don't need many tools to display confidence. Be you, be real. It costs nothing. And it works with consistency. You know, I've mentioned about consistency in past episodes. It's important. So, if you're ready to rock that natural hair with confidence, think about the reasons why you do it. Or you would like to do it. So go with that, because I promise you, that is what's going to carry you farther than you can imagine. Looking great on the outside is a factor, but looking at how you feel on the inside, now that's a piece of the puzzle you don't want to leave out. Check out Twinness on Facebook. They do live videos on different topics on the show that you might find quite interesting. But as far as t-shirts go, Tesha has selected not approved. And if you're not familiar with the t-shirt brand from Natural Born Sistah, not approved, I'm surprised that doesn't move as quickly as possible, because not is spelled K-N-O-T. So, hey, I came up with that idea and I think it's great. But yeah, Natural Born Sistah t-shirt that Taneka has chosen is kinky as fuck. And now you know that one moves. That one moves. And she loves it. I loved it. Because you know that's my favorite too. And I'm so proud of their choices. It makes me feel all tingly inside. And hey sis, thank you for listening, and don't forget, we're bringing you kinky content in the kitchen on your favorite cast and YouTube every Wednesday. Rock on.
That's all for today. What feelings are you left with? Do you have questions, thoughts? DM on IG at Natural Born Sistah and let's talk about it. Oh, and don't forget to leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. They really help us grow and reach more women who need company on their hair journey. We'll chat it up next week.